traversing companies like Z5, Viacom. The world has seen the dot-com boom. The world has seen the chat GPT and the OpenAI boom.
It's important your hard skills and soft skills have a good balance.
Yes.
Your best friends should be your competitors,
Yes, that's how
not your enemies.
So there were some cartoons and we used to see those juice ads. So that was my brush with a commercial.
And this digitalization of all the business is elimination of negatives.
I'm your host, Pamela, and you're tuned into Transition Story. Join us as we listen into inspiring tales from our guests, glean valuable learnings, and take action to apply them to our daily lives. Are you ready to be inspired by a true trailblazer in the digital world? If yes, we are here to welcome Patrick. And as we delve into his inspirational journey, starting from Lebanon, coming to UAE, and cementing his position as a mentor coach in the entrepreneurship world, Patrick has traversed diverse paths starting from commercial advertising roles into leadership roles in big media houses, thereby choosing to become a mentor and a board advisor in multiple organizations. We take a sneak peek into his current initiatives, we learn from his experience, and we make this a very, very enchanting and engrossed conversation. Let's welcome Patrick to the show. In this episode, we welcome Patrick, whose transformative journey is going to inspire all our listeners. And it's a distinct honor and a privilege, Patrick, that we do this in Dubai. So I'm extremely honored that you have made the time to come here and speak to me today. So beginning with, let's hear out from you. How are you feeling on being on a show which is just 5-6 episodes old?
It's always great to be on the early stages because you can feel you're part of the success when it grows.
I'm so touched.
I think that would be the very interesting to see the journey of your show, and I'm sure it will be great. I mean, I know the background of yourself. I know the background of your experience, which I think that will be a big help to transform this to a bigger and more promising piece of content that people can leverage, can take advantage of, and can learn from. So good luck.
So Patrick, let us start with your early years. You grew up in Lebanon?
Yes.
And all your education was there?
Most of it, yes.
So what moved you into a role in marketing?
Well, actually, it started in advertising or marketing, let's put it this way. In the 90s, I was very much fascinated by commercials. So, satellite television like 90s, raiding every home in Lebanon and obviously in the region. So it was very interesting for me to obviously see films and series and news and talk shows surrounding the industry. But Lebanon was a very big forefront into broadcast and media. And we were the first country that, us and Egypt, to be honest, that generated this experience to the Gulf in the early 90s. As you see, many Lebanese work in this industry. And we were very super experienced with international companies in France and the States to work with them and bringing all these advertising and marketing licenses to the region, to the GCC region. So I was always fascinated by commercials. I wasn't a sucker for commercials, not like I believed most of the time what they do, but it was very interesting to see how they take a product, identify it as a brand and, create convincing methods through creativity and ideas and promote them to a fresh audience, whether it's a new product or a new service or a new brand. And in parallel model, you see people coming in and saying, okay, I want to buy this. And, the more you start to explain it or define it, the journey is simple. You see something, you go to a supermarket or a retail store and you look at people buying, and sometimes you can see their shift in decisions. I've seen maybe this brand, or there's a hidden top of mind message that I've seen in advertising, and that's why I should buy it. I was convinced, and so forth. So I like this industry, and it was on the rise. So, I started reading a lot of articles around it. There was no, obviously, internet then. So I subscribed to a magazine called Marketing Week, which was really funny. So I used to go to the library
to pick up
the magazine. Actually, there was no subscription easy, so we had to do it with the library in college. And, I started understanding this industry, and I liked it. I felt okay, this is where I should belong. I always had the creative side, but I wasn't an artist. So I said, let me use my creativity and account management as well. And that's how, when I graduated, I did marketing. I went more focused on advertising, and I fell in love with it, basically.
Yeah. I can recall in my childhood days, at least when I grew up in India, we did not have any TV commercials, any visual commercial. So we had to rely on newspapers. So my mom used to subscribe to a magazine that used to have very small snippets of juice ads. Okay. So there were some cartoons and we used to see those juice ads. So that was my brush with a commercial as a child.
Illustrations mostly.
Yeah,
probably,
mostly
yeah.
illustrations. And till date, if I drink that juice, I'm able to recall that illustration. So that's the power of commercials.
True.
Though we have moved away from print media and it's now more digital, but it does have a lasting impact. So I can relate to what you just mentioned.
And I think it was a generation shift, I mean, maybe in Europe and the States more in the 80s, but even more before that. But in the Middle East, it became really popular in the late 80s and for college students to go into marketing and advertising.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
So I also see in your career, you have transitioned from an individual contributor in the commercial space to a leader and traversing companies like Z5, Viacom, moving into revenue roles where you started managing the business.
Yes.
What transpired? What was going on in your mind? And what strengths did you play on in driving that transformation for yourself?
Well, I spent 10 years in advertising. So from 97 till 2007, I dedicated my journey in advertising. I mean, I fell in love with it, to be honest. And I worked with brilliant multinational companies as well. But broadcast was always very close to me. I wanted to understand it. I wanted to touch the consumer from content, not only from a short form content. I used to say, I don't want to talk to people for 30 seconds. I want to talk to them for 50 minutes. So I think that was where I felt I need to be in media and broadcast. Digital was on the rise, social platforms were just beginning to conquer. I had an opportunity to launch and run music television, and I felt I had no idea about television, but I learned the basics. I learned the complete build-up of a TV network, and it was a great experience to impact, because in a broadcast business, you get to impact your customer through content and through advertising anyway, because you feature both, I started my journey with Viacom, obviously with MTV, launching the biggest platform for MTV here, for the Arabic region, which has the largest audience, obviously, then. In 2010, I had an opportunity to work with Z Network. It was first experience for me to work with an Indian company and, to learn something new about this culture. I mean, I love India. I like the culture of India as well. And I felt there's a lot of similarity between the Middle East and India, or the Arab culture and the Indian culture. And that's where we launched a lot of products, and we succeeded immensely. And where I failed or where I've struggled to understand, I have succeeded through Z, for example.
Which was an Indian...
Which is an Indian business by default. Yeah, I worked with great colleagues, all of them. Some are still in Dubai. Every single one of them was fantastic. They were very supportive. I mean, we fought like brothers, and sisters, which was really cool. But it was for the good sake of how to develop something. And, as they say, without conflict, you can't create drama. And that's what we were all about. So I've, in a way, adapted my learning experience through Viacom. And in a way, I've became more confident in the decision process and the aggressive decisions to perform in Z. So that was my struggle within the company, and to convince to take risks. Because broadcast is about being the first to launch something new, being the, as we call it, first run.
Yes.
So, and that's what a lot of people were going in safe, but that's not going to work. That's not going to perform. That's not going to stand out. This approach allowed us to generate a lot of eyeballs and help us to become more and more recognized in the commercial space. And then I said, broadcast, there's no subscription.
At that time, there was no subscription.
I mean, there was on the Indian platforms, but the Arabic platform is mostly an advertising driven, so it's a freemium service. And so I started getting into the sales aspect, into the commercial aspect, because if you want to grow in a business, you need to understand how to make money.
Yes, that's the most fundamental piece.
Yeah, actually, that was my first sales role, to be honest. When I was like the SVP of Z, I was also in charge of sales. So I built a sales house for them. And that's how we linked all the Indian and the Arabic content into one, and to offer it as a package for the advertisers as well. So I had a great opportunity to move to Abu Dhabi and start a complete commercial transformation journey with Sky News. That was also an amazing experience. Working with very much live news was a challenge.
Which is very
difficult.
Very different experience, right?
Look, I mean, nobody wants to advertise on news. It's just negative, by default. But that's the nature of news, is to showcase what is there in the world.
What is not working, what is broken.
Yeah, and it's a political channel by default. So So for me, it was also saying, okay, that we need to soften our business. So getting involved in editorial and content and things that are more into business. So that's where we started to generate more and more content and packages that suit an advertiser. So we started to introduce new packages and new offerings that comes into the business. That was my last employment journey, basically, with Sky News.
And what happened, that's of course natural question that follows is,
Yes.
you had such an illustrious career, coming from Lebanon, moving to the UAE, playing such stupendous roles where you were at the helm of your job, creating a revenue organization, creating business, growing the business. What triggered the decision to actually step away from that glory and move into something which is so diverse?
Look, I think we as people living in UAE and Dubai, we were blessed with an ongoing opportunity space because the leadership, the country, the city itself is a fast moving city and is always on the go to grow. And we are lucky and fortunate by proximity to be around these areas as being Lebanese, also as being Indian. We're very close to this.
Yes.
That's why you see a lot of us here. And so you need to keep up your pace. You need to always be on your feet. There's no way to slack. It's very fast moving, So while I was at Sky, I decided to, build more academically my education, entering the digital space more. At my age, it was difficult to unlearn old habits and learn something new. So, it was the most difficult thing in my life to rewire how my brain works when it comes to media and digital and technology. And I felt that, the tech industry is the way forward. But when you're 40s, it's not easy to. When was the last time you convinced your parents about a new idea? It's so difficult. Same thing for you. When you're at this age, you need to learn something new. And to learn something new, you need to unlearn. And the unlearning is very difficult.
It's difficult because you have ingrained certain knowledge through your experience.
Absolutely. There's muscle memory. It's so difficult to get it out. So going back to academics allowed me to establish the unlearning. So I did my MBA for a reason, to learn how to unlearn or to go back to zero. So that was very difficult for myself and successfully finished. And, I had a very good few years while studying. And then I said, okay, so I've done this. Corona hit. We became very volatile as employees. And I think, okay, that's not acceptable. You cannot be volatile. I cannot risk not having a job and not staying in Dubai. I need to be some form of a business personality where I am in control of my own destiny, not a job is. And that's where entrepreneurship comes in. So I went into that route, working in technology, working in the e-commerce space, which was also a big segment that is growing. And I started to develop my skills into these areas. And then when you are an entrepreneur, you have the freedom to choose what to be part of. That's where I started, acquiring shares, taking shares on board, and just growing the space of businesses that I feel I'm comfortable in and I like to be present or support people who are working in these industries. So it is not easy, but I was lucky. So I found my luck, as they say. I picked the right pieces and I just moved towards it.
So I would say it is partially luck and partially your hard work, because you kind of repivoted at a time when you thought it's right for you as an individual. At the same time, you also upskilled yourself, which many people are reluctant to do today.
True.
Because of which they just continue to survive. I would not say they thrive. They're just, kind of leading that role and doing the same thing again and again. And one fine day they realize it's too late to learn something new. But you have defied those norms and you kind of have established that there is no age to, learn something new. It's always a fresh start.
And it humbles you.
Yeah, it humbles you.
It humbles you a lot. It allows you to stay calmer. We're all born with egos, correct? So I think the nature of what you do and the nature of the wealth that you generate or you accumulate, fast or slow, it creates a character eventually.
Yes.
Your character changes over time and it just humbles you to learn something new. You feel more humbled. You feel more like, okay, mature about, taking better decisions or working with different people. That allows you to be more kind. That allows you to be more building relationships, strong relationships that last forever, not tactical relationships that has a mean to an end, So, and makes you choose wisely the right people to work with as well. And I call it the most difficult thing is when to say no, because this FOMO approach was very difficult to get out of. So you want to be in everything, you want to do everything. That was like everybody's, I can do it. A no is eminent. It has to be said, has to be done. You have to say no to opportunities because you lose out everything else you've been working on.
So when you say no to something, you say yes to something else.
100%.
How I
Absolutely. Or something else becomes better.
Something else becomes better. And you don't know, if you say no to something, the one thing that you're saying yes to might actually define your rest of your life.
Very true.
So, I was talking to a gentleman I was interviewing for the podcast,
Mhm.
and he mentioned this Indian guy who has been a serial entrepreneur and
Okay.
has been advising a lot of people. So, he mentioned that he actually takes these spiritual breaks because he feels that with a lot of success, ego develops, which is a very natural human
Yes.
instinct. And he wants to humble himself because he wants to go back to square one.
Yes.
Feel that, I'm capable of learning anything new. I'll repivot. Age is not a bar. So it so resonates with what you just said. So
Yeah.
it's a living proof that people do feel this way. It's not easy.
It's not
Absolutely.
easy. Yeah.
See, when I was starting this podcast, there were so many thoughts in my mind, while I'm working, I do this, will I do justice to both? But then I thought it's important to take the plunge, because unless you take the plunge, you don't know what it can lead you to. So it's important to take those opportunities and take a leap of faith.
Yeah.
A very different, diverse question. We discussed about your career trajectory, but I do see you are very active, in fact, of talking about AI, talking about digital technologies.
Yes.
And you are a fractional CEO, if I may call it, advising a lot of CEOs and leaders to run their companies.
Yes.
So, what's your observation? The world has seen the dot-com boom.
Mhm.
The world has seen the chat GPT and the open AI boom. What's next? What's the disruption that you're foreseeing, especially in your industry where media and digital media has taken the center stage now?
So I don't like to be a CEO. It doesn't excite me. It's not exciting, As an entrepreneur, I'm better built to have CEOs and help them become much better than me. I'm very corporate. So being in entrepreneurship and starting SMEs and operating like a corporate CEO is there are two different animals. Okay. So in the journey of entrepreneurship, I am better off making CEOs feel where they should be.
So you're a coach, player coach?
I don't know if I'm a coach. I don't know. Maybe I am to some people, or maybe I am more sharing with them. I share a lot of everything I've done, and I think
so it's part mentorship also.
Anyway, mentorship, it's more about offering people avoiding failure, and if I am able to do that, they can win easier and win faster. That's, I'm happy to do that. So I found myself into this, and, first of all, it's very self-satisfying. And I was yesterday with one company that we're going to start in a few months as well in the brand building business. And I would love to see him, the CEO, this young man, become like one of the best. And I'm there to make sure this is a journey. And I told him, my gratitude is if you say, okay, without Patrick, I would have not been. That for me is worth a lot. And I do that with a few other, startups already in Middle East. So that for me became interesting. And one thing in technology I've learned, and the hard way, and obviously with the introduction of AI and machine learning and this digitization of all the business, is elimination of negatives. And everybody's like so caught up in the top line, let's put it this way. Nobody is delivering the right product or the right service. It's quite strange where you are able to deliver a close to zero error company, but you choose not to. Why? We've never been advanced as today.
You remind me of Jim Collins.
Maybe. It's very interesting the choices people make, the cost saving they make to avoid delivering a close to zero error product or service. Why? Why? Whoever failed by creating a perfect product? I don't know.
Nobody.
I don't know. People created a product, they failed by upgrading it. So a zero error product, it doesn't mean that your product only works. It works with the advancement of technology and with the advancement of what's macro around you. So that's what people should be focusing on. I know you've built a company 4 years ago, but you can't stay the same company 4 years ago. So a zero error product is in parallel of the growth of economy, the environment, technology is adapting to what is changing as well, insights and so forth. And that's what I see is the biggest challenge that companies will have. You've seen companies that started 10 years ago that were phenomenal. Where are they now? They didn't follow through with the advancement.
They repivot.
And there's something that I like about an old slogan. I don't know if it's still there about, it's Audi slogan. It's called Vorsprung durch Technik, which is advancement through technology. And they keep advancing in parallel with technology as a company, which is really interesting. And that sits in their organization and it follows through accordingly. And I think all these companies should work in parallel, and keep striving for excellence. So,
but not many do it.
which, I mean, aside from the levers, PNGs, who has an R&D department? Who has their own developers? Everybody's so focused on outsourcing and so focused on white label solutions. Okay, that's fine. But start with that, but eventually build your own. Use technology, follow technology. When you outsource better. And that's what I fear the digitization and the technology is gonna make people focus on or make them obsolete.
That's a choice they have to make.
I mean, it's a business plan. You can't just produce business plans and this is not counted for. I mean, look at the advertising industry as well. It's changed
a lot.
Show me what advertising agencies have changed, where they have changed.
They're still depending on labor for scheduling the entire.
They still do that. Some of them are advanced, but it's so difficult to change, but they are not even attempting to. All of these companies. You see, similar work is being done year over year over year over year. Doesn't mean if you're a large enterprise, it's difficult to change. You need to have a young spirit as a large enterprise, and that will allow you to change. And, doing well is even harder to change than when you are not doing well. Because when you're not doing well, you keep fighting to be better. But when you are at your forefront, and technology today is on your side, AI is on your side.
It's quite adopted.
Make it work for your favor. So you are always on the forefront, Innovate. Try to do something
Continuous
new.
innovation.
So I think that is where a lot of areas we're going to see in the future. So reaching the zero error,
is very important. So in your entire journey, you have seen so many CEOs, so many successful people that you have mentored.
Yes.
You have worked alongside. What do you think plays a bigger role in people's success and making them happy? Because somebody told me, huge amount of money and a lot of happiness don't come together. Sometimes passion plays a big role. Sometimes their skills and competencies play a big role. In your journey and experience, what do you think plays a much higher role in somebody's success and making them happy at the same time?
It's a great question. I've met CEOs that are completely blinded by wealth. They're not bad people, but they are so focused on wealth, which means their first priority is wealth. I met CEOs that are amazing business people, but kind CEOs. They create culture. They are behind success of others as well. They carry the torch and they pass it forward. And I think that's where I see the future is, in culture and in CEOs where they accept the time they have. I mean, a CEO is an employee.
Yes.
Okay, let's put it this way. And when you are employed, succession is part of your journey. No matter how much money you make, it's part of your journey. You can't
hold on to that rope.
It's impossible. I mean, you can't. And when you see a CEO that is failing to let go because there is wealth surrounding it, it's greed. Not allowing an opportunity for someone else to take that, it's greed. You made your fair share. You can't just stop somebody else because it is of interest for your wealth. And that's where you see more people going towards the balanced life. And this rise of work-life balance, this rise of the personal happiness and the mindfulness of CEOs, where you see it a lot, people and these coaches and wellness and all of these things, this has sparked a thought to all of these CEOs that were very greedy to say, okay, you know what? Let me take care of me. And that's why you see a lot of shift and changes of CEOs as well.
Behaviors are shifting.
So I believe people are becoming more humble. And I think that would be the natural cause of change. But you need to be in a dynamic, in an environment, in a country, and with people around you who have this. You see, 15 years ago, I would only hear yoga in India.
Yes,
okay.
It is across the world.
Now, I know people who wake up at 5 a.m. and just start doing 10 minutes of yoga. Look at this mindset of this human being who was waking up, having coffee, if they're smoking, so much anxiety. Now they are at peace. So they come in more positive. They leave more positive. There's family, work, life balance, personal balance. That's interesting. Now you go to play tennis or paddle tennis at 3 p.m. You'll find people getting out of their job and playing a game just to unwind a little bit. And that's nice. That's how life should be. This herd model of 9 to 6 is nonsense. And Corona taught us that you can work from everywhere. Nothing changed, Yeah.
Otherwise, people look for happiness everywhere and there is no happiness anywhere.
Yes.
Because everything is out of balance, right? They're chasing a career. They're unable to meet their deadlines. They're unable to, deliver responsibilities as a parent or as a spouse. So there are so many imbalances, and these mindfulness practices, of course, has changed a lot of things. Now we're wrapping up. I have a very important question for you, which I ask all my guests.
Go for it.
And it is a person in their 30s, 40s, okay, who is really earning from inside to do something different, make a shift in their career. And entrepreneurship is a great journey to pursue.
Yes.
But there are very different ways of doing entrepreneurship today because of the technology advancements. You can be a freelancer, you can be a fractional CFO, CTO, CEO. What do you suggest? What are the 2-3 things they should start with if they have to explore their inner calling and pursue something which is different but fulfilling?
Okay, I'll answer you in 2 ways. First of all, people in their 30s, let's characterize them by 2 personalities: hard skills or soft skills. Some people are hard skills driven that lack soft skills, and some people are soft skills driven that lack hard skills. There should be a balance between both.
Marrying both of them.
If you want to be, because the question is to be an entrepreneur. So if you decide to move to a level of entrepreneurship, nobody's going to tell you he's a horrible CEO or leader because he knows technically very well and he's great with people. And nobody's going to tell you it's bad, he's so technical, but he has so many friends. So I think the idea is it's important your hard skills and soft skills have a good balance.
Yes.
And I think most of the people in their 30s, they move to a entrepreneurship role where one of them is lacking. And that is very scary.
They should not move it with that imbalance.
So build your other side, whether it's soft or hard, before you move to entrepreneurship skills.
Wow, that is an excellent advice.
And that is the most difficult thing to create. Make sure you are both. Soft skills alone, everybody wants to buy your ice cream because of you, but maybe people will cheat on you and buy other ice cream because your ice cream is not that good. So I think that's it. So if you are not able to find your soft skills, find a partner that has the soft skills. And then I go to this Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, Apple methodology, hard skills versus soft skills, and soft skills, not versus. So if you can't be this person for both, find your partner. Whether if you are a great PR person, amazing in sales, who's your hard skills guy? If you can't learn it, if you can't unlearn what you know and build hard skills, find the partner in your hard skills. And that is honestly the most difficult thing you see people in their 30s are, because they are still at a place where they haven't built their PR, or they started by sales or marketing so early that they have so much information about everything, but so little information about one thing.
That's a very nice way of putting it.
Yes. And I think that would be my biggest lesson from entrepreneurship at a younger age. That's why, for me, I went into a business I am familiar in. And when I wasn't familiar in, I learned it to the bone. So I am into more of the accepting of making things with less negatives. So they are more in favor of selling themselves as products to avoid my soft skills, because they are so much time consuming. If you build a product that can work, you reduce your soft skills, but they are still balanced because people want to work with approachable people.
Feedback.
100%, because if you hate the CEO, you're not going to work with this company. If you hate the founder, you're not going to work with this company. Correct? So you need to also be present. You need to be a thought leader. You need to be involved with other people and your competition. And your best friends should be your competitors.
Yes, that's how
not your enemies.
Yeah.
And that's how I've never disrespected a competitor. I have built relationships with my competition. I don't believe we are competing. I believe we are creating and enlarging a segment. And that's where I think we have our equal share or our fair shares based on our product that delivers less negatives.
So competition actually creates the market.
It creates the market, 100%.
It's important.
Fair competition. Yes.
So many guests have answered this question in different ways, but today your answer was very unique because very often people ignore the soft skill. I am a failed entrepreneur myself. So I probably had a lot of tech skills, did not have the soft skills and did not know sales. And the product was good, but could not be marketed well and could not be sold well, and it tanked. So I resonate with that advice.
But when you are an entrepreneur, you don't have a company that has hard skills. Yes. It's you.
It's all on you.
100%. So you need to be, I call it the robot and the human together.
Yeah, absolutely. It was such a lovely conversation, Patrick. Such nuggets of wisdom you shared. I'm sure people who are listening to this would be benefited.
Listen to this.
Yeah.
Force people to listen to this.
Force people to listen to this. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.